Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 7 Part 35 based on novel. So let's start. Purple-black light that appeared to be like a thick cloud layer covered the sky. Even the sun was being blocked by it. An exceptionally frightening pressure spread across the sky. This mountain range was not lacking in demonic beasts. However, those demonic beasts' bunched-up bodies were repeatedly trembling. The pressure that originated from someone from a higher status caused their souls to quiver. That was an existence at the top of the food chain. It possessed the might to suppress all living creatures. The celestial demon Martin was an elite demonic beast at the top of the demonic beast world. In fact, even when faced with the ancient and powerful dragon tribes, they were not afraid at all. They truly stood at the peak, and there were no tribes that could become their natural enemy. Such an elite existence in the demonic beast world would seldom appear in Eastern Xian region. However, this did not stop the experts and demonic beasts in this place to feel fearful of them. Even a dominating super sect as strong as Yuan Gate did not dare to act overly arrogant when facing the celestial demon Martin tribe. This was because they clearly understood that despite the strong foundation their Yuan Gate had, the celestial demon Martin tribe was even more terrifying than them. The Yuan Gate had gathered some super sects and fought with the celestial demon Martins in the past. However, they were ultimately unable to obtain any obvious victories. Both parties had peak-level experts dying, and this resulted in a deep grudge between both parties. However, on the whole, there were seldom any celestial demon Martins appearing alone in this place owing to Yuan Gate's massive influence in Eastern Xian region. Similarly, the members from the Yuan Gate would conceal themselves and keep a low profile when they went to the demon region. This was because they clearly understood what great troubles they would attract should their identities be exposed. It was precisely because it was so rare to see a celestial demon Martin in Eastern region, that Elder Jiang and the yellow golden ghost owl would feel so shocked when they saw his enormous purple-black bat wings spreading in the sky. The shock in their hearts involuntarily broke through their sense of reasoning and surfaced on their faces. Damn it, this fellow is actually a celestial demon Martin. The shock on Elder Jiang's face lasted for a moment before his expression turned extremely dark and solemn. His flickering eyes vaguely contained some uneasiness. Little Martin's strength was likely only similar to his. However, he clearly understood just how frightening the strength of a celestial demon Martin was, once it used its actual body to fight. Elder Jiang's eyes flickered. Immediately, he glanced at the yellow golden ghost owl beside him. At this moment, the latter's expression was completely ashen while his body was continuously trembling. As a demonic beast, the pressure placed by a celestial demon Martin on him was magnified several times. If it was not because he was forcefully suppressing it, it was likely that this yellow golden ghost owl would have involuntarily turned around and fled a long time ago. What is there to be afraid of? Even if he is a celestial demon Martin, he will not be able to do anything to us if we join forces. However, if we fight separately, we will definitely die. Elder Jiang cried out with a dark and stern expression. That yellow golden ghost owl's expression recovered a little upon hearing his cry. He nodded with bitterness filling his mouth. He had never imagined that he would actually meet a fearsome being like the celestial demon Martin in Eastern Xian region. These fellows were beings that even caused headaches to those high-ranking dragon tribe members. We will attack together, and it will definitely stir quite a huge commotion. As long as we alarm others, these fellows will definitely refrain from doing things that could harm the innocent. Does he really think that the Eastern Xian region is the demon region? If news of this matter spread, the experts from my Yuan Gate will not allow him to return alive. Elder Jiang spoke coldly. Yes? That yellow golden ghost owl nodded violently upon hearing this. His Demon Sound Mountain had lost everything today. Moreover, this Demon Sound Mountain still had the Earth Core spiritual brewing saliva. Hence, he was naturally unwilling to easily give up. Attack! Elder Jiang and the yellow golden ghost owl exchanged glances with each other. Their eyes turned cold as vast and mighty Yuan power immediately whistled out. They transformed into 2,000 feet large Yuan power pillars that swept across the sky and ruthlessly swept towards Little Martin. A futile attempt. Little Martin was hovering in the sky. His 1,000 feet large purple-black bat wings were flapped. That handsome demonic face had a mocking expression at this moment. After which, his long white hand was extended. Immediately, that monstrous purple-black cloud layer surged and directly transformed into a purple-black cloud palm. It carried an indescribable wild and violent ripple that smashed down furiously like a demonic god's hand. Rumble. The enormous palm whizzed down and the natural yuan power exploded at this moment. The sea of trees below directly collapsed. A thousands of feet large palm was embedded deep into the ground. Bang bang. The 2 yuan power pillars that seemed to have penetrated through the sky also collapsed instantly due to that massive palm attack. The combination of Elder Jiang and the yellow golden ghost owl was actually unable to block Little Martin's attack at all. The expressions of Elder Jiang and the yellow golden ghost owl changed drastically after their yuan power pillars, which were formed with all their might, were shattered. The former's eyes were flickering wildly. In the next instant, his forward-moving body suddenly stilled. Before the yellow golden ghost owl could recover, he had already turned into a light figure as he fled the mountain range. Damn it! Elder Jiang, who had suddenly retreated, caused the yellow golden ghost owl to be momentarily stunned. Immediately, he was angered until he cursed out loud. He was just about to withdraw when Little Martin let out a cold smile. His palm violently clawed downwards. Celestial Demon Claw. A crack line appeared in the sky at this moment, looking just like a demon's mouth. After which, a purple-black ancient large claw directly whizzed out from the crack line and grabbed the yellow golden ghost owl. The yellow golden ghost owl's expression was pale when he saw this. He did not hesitate as he turned around and fled immediately. He was weaker than Little Martin to begin with. Currently, with the latter using the real body of a celestial demon Martin, there was no way for him to fight. He did not know what else he could do besides flee for his life. However, after Little Martin had used his celestial demon Martin's body, it was obvious that he was planning to get rid of everyone. Naturally, it was impossible for him to allow anyone escape. His large claw tore through the sky and covered the yellow golden ghost owl. After which, the space became distorted, appearing just like a prison, capturing the yellow golden ghost owl within. Bang! The wind from the claw attacked, but the yellow golden ghost owl was unable to put up even the slightest resistance. The latter's body exploded into a cluster of bloody fog while a miserable cry resounded over the entire place. The blood fog spread. Suddenly, a bright light rushed out from within. The yellow golden ghost owl had already formed a demonic spirit. Hence, he did not die immediately after his physical body was destroyed. Trying to flee. However, that bright light had just rushed out when it was covered by a purple-black ray. Finally, it was grabbed by Little Martin. Lord Celestial Demon Martin, please let me off. I am willing to surrender the Earth Core spiritual brewing saliva. That bright light struggled within Little Martin's hand with all its might. Miserable cries continued to be emitted. It is too late to say this now. Little Martin laughed coldly before he clenched his palm. The purple-black light transformed into a symbol that sealed the yellow golden ghost owl. The yellow golden ghost owl was basically captured within a split second. The unusually overbearing strength of a celestial demon Martin caused Lin Dong's group to be speechless. A celestial demon Martin was indeed worthy of being an elite existence within the demonic beast world. Their ability far exceeds that of a normal demonic beast. Second brother, don't forget about that old fart. Little Flame spoke in a mighty voice before his eyes turned towards another spot. Elder Jiang was rushing towards the horizon there. Competing with my celestial demon Martin tribe in terms of speed. You really do not know your limits. Little Martin raised his head before a mocking smile flashed over his handsome face. His purple-black bat wings, which covered the sun, flapped violently. Immediately, wild gales tore across the sky before his body disappeared immediately. Soon after, the space in front of Elder Jiang had a purple-black light surging out across the sky. Such frightening speed. Lin Dong was slightly stunned when he saw Little Martin seemingly teleporting into the distance. He involuntarily parted his mouth. Little Martin usually liked to speak haughtily, but it seems that he had the qualifications to do so. With his strength, it was likely that he would have the upper hand as long as he did not meet those sect master or old demon-like beings from various super sects. Bang bang. A wild yuan power fluctuation spread in the distant sky. It was likely that Elder Jiang had struggled with all his might. However, his resistance merely lasted for a couple of minutes before it gradually died down. Soon after, the purple-black light flickered in the sky. Little Martin's body appeared in front of Lin Dong Trio. That purple-black bat wings that bolted out the sun behind him were also being withdrawn from his body. Done. Lin Dong involuntarily smiled when he saw this scene. With Grandpa Martin acting personally, what trouble can those characters cause? Little Martin lifted the corner of his mouth and smiled in a proud manner. After which, he extended both of his hands. Two purple-black light clusters appeared. There was vaguely a roar being emitted from within. They were the Yuan spirit of Elder Jiang and the yellow-golden ghost owl. These two mysterious life stage experts were now things in Little Martin's hands. Is that their Yuan spirit and demonic spirit? Lin Dong gawked in shock when he saw the two light clusters in Little Martin's hands. His gaze penetrated the purple-black light and he was able to see two light figures wildly struggling within, in an attempt to break the seal. Standing beside him, Ying Huan was also slightly shocked when she saw this scene. When Lin Dong first joined Dao sect, she noticed Little Martin following him as well. However, she did not expect that the latter was actually so powerful. Moreover, he was actually a member of the Celestial Demon Martin clan, who even caused Yuan Gate to suffer great losses. Moreover, the fact that shocked her the most was the relationship between the Lin Dong trio. The three of them called each other brothers. Little Flame addressed Little Martin as second brother, and it was likely that Lin Dong was the leader of the trio. Amongst the three of them, the strongest and most unfathomable person was naturally Little Martin. However, after this short period of observation, Ying Huan knew that their true leader was Lin Dong. There was naturally no need to discuss about Little Flame. From the fearsome aura that covered his body, Ying Huan was clearly aware that he was no kind-hearted person. However, that evil aura on his face, which caused one's pause to stand, turned into a simple and honest one the moment he saw Lin Dong. This allowed Ying Huan to understand the position Lin Dong had in his heart. He likely respected Lin Dong even more than Little Martin, who was the strongest amongst them. Furthermore, even though Little Martin had a terrifying background, he actually did not express any discomfort. Although he did not listen to everything that Lin Dong said like Little Flame did, Lin Dong was clearly in charge. Hence, Ying Huan, who did not know about their past, felt a little intrigued and surprised by this scene. She increasingly felt like she was unable to understand Lin Dong. This demonic spirit of the ghost owl can be given to Little Flame to refine and absorb. It will be quite beneficial for him. As for this fellow's Yuan spirit, I'll give it to you, Little Martin smiled. After which, he tossed with his hand and threw Elder Jiang's Yuan spirit to Lin Dong. Although you are still quite weak, it shouldn't be too difficult to remove this old fellow's consciousness given your skills. We will go and look for that Earth Core spiritual brewing saliva in a while. If we are able to find it, together with this Yuan spirit, there should be a 70 to 80% chance that you can form an initial Yuan spirit. Many 9 Yuan Nirvana stage experts find it difficult to form an initial Yuan spirit. Your Yuan power mastery is only that of a 6 Yuan Nirvana stage, yet you actually have the opportunity to do so. I wonder just how many people will be stunned if news of this matter spread. Although it is not easy to remove the consciousness within a Yuan spirit, Little Martin, who clearly understood Lin Dong, was aware that it shouldn't be much of a problem for the latter. Lin Dong received the light cluster. He smiled slightly as he curled his hand. After which, a black light shot out his palm and covered the light cluster. Subsequently, the light figure within the light cluster began to struggle even more intensely. Given Lin Dong's strength, it was naturally impossible for him to match up against Elder Jiang in a real fight. However, the latter had lost his physical body and his Yuan spirit was also sealed. Hence, it was impossible for him to block the erosion of the devouring ancestral symbol. Base. At this rate, one elder in Yuan Gate shall completely disappear from this world very soon. This time around, the Yuan Gate has truly suffered a great loss. Lin Dong flipped his hand and kept the light cluster. His eyes cautiously scanned his surroundings before he smilingly said, 2 soul generals and 1 elder. Such a loss was likely sufficient to cause even Yuan Gate to experience a heartache. Moreover, the great sect competition was just around the corner. The loss of 2 soul generals would likely weaken the lineup of the Yuan Gate that was participating in the great sect competition. Little Martin smiled before he waved his sleeve. The purple-black light shot downwards and directly shattered Xiao Yang and Chen Yun's corpses into dust. Let's go and find the Earth Core spiritual brewing saliva. We will leave immediately after finding it. Little Flame, do you know the way? Lin Dong nodded slightly when he saw this. After which, he smilingly asked. Yes. Little Flame nodded. After which, his body moved and flew towards the enormous Demon Sound Mountain. The Lin Dong trio followed behind immediately. At this moment, there was already no longer any life on the Demon Sound Mountain. A bloody scent permeated the place, causing the demonic sound that covered the mountain all year round to sound much more sinister. The 4 of them rushed into the Demon Sound Mountain. After which, they swiftly entered the back of the mountain while following Little Flame's lead. Following which, they saw an enormous dark hole located on an extremely well-hidden mountain wall. At this moment, a light array was covering the hole. Clearly, it was a seal placed by that yellow golden ghost owl. Right here. Little Martin clenched his hand when he heard Little Flame's words. A wild and violent purple-black pillar shot out explosively. The light array was blasted away immediately. That yellow golden ghost owl was no match for Little Martin when he was alive, much less a seal of his. Naturally, this seal was unable to hinder Little Martin at all. Go? Little Martin took the lead after having destroyed the light array as he directly charged into the dark black tunnel. Purple-black energy swept apart as his body turned into a ray of light and bolted out. The tunnel appeared to be connected to the deep parts of the mountain. The 4 of them followed the tunnel and flew for a couple of minutes. After which, a speck of light suddenly appeared in the darkness in front of them. In the next instant, that speck of light grew before the narrow vision before they suddenly widened. An enormous cave appeared in front of Lin Dong's 4-men group. The cave was likely situated in the middle of the mountain. Strange rocks stood all over the place and a powerful energy that caused one to be stunned was whistling past this cave. The eyes of Lin Dong's group swept over this enormous cave. After which, they suddenly focused their attention at the middle of the cave. At that spot was a large rock pool that was a couple of dozen feet large. The rock pool was also filled with a golden-colored liquid. Lin Dong's body moved and appeared at the edge of the rock pool. This pool was not deep. With a glance, it was possible for one to see the bottom. Golden liquid rippled within it, while an alluring and serene fragrance was vaguely scattering from it. Lin Dong inhaled a breath of fragrance. After which, he sensed the Dragon Yuan ring within his dantian emitting a buzzing sound. That intense ripple was something that Lin Dong had never experienced before. Is this the Earth Core spiritual brewing saliva? Lin Dong stared right at the golden rock pool in front of him before he asked. Yes. Standing beside him, Ying Huan nodded her head gently. Some golden liquid was being reflected in her large black eyes. She laughed softly. These golden liquid is slowly squeezed out from the Earth Core's energy. Most of the liquid will disappear through this juicing process. Only in some special places, like this place, will they be able to gather. However, they are only called Earth Core spiritual brewing water. This is because a final step is still lacking and they lack something to compress them. Nonetheless, this step can be done by a man. This girl seems to be well aware of this thing. Beside them, Little Martin glanced at Ying Huan in a surprised manner. There were not many people who knew about such matters. The sect possessed quite a number of old books related to natural spiritual treasures. I have occasionally read them, Ying Huan smilingly explained. Little Martin nodded. After which, his eyes turned towards the golden pool in front of him. He grinned and said, I shall perform the last step. Little Martin suddenly rotated his hand after his voice sounded. A purple-black swirl was formed above the golden pool. After which, a wave of wild violent energy erupted from it. Immediately, the pool rippled intensely. The golden liquid directly rose upwards and surged into the purple-black spiral. Faint golden light was continuously emitted from within the purple-black swirl. Lin Dong and the rest could also see that the golden liquid seemed to be agglomerating together at a shocking rate. Following the increased intensity of the agglomeration, the golden liquid also became increasingly viscous. Crush! The viscous golden liquid was formed a moment later. Finally, light gathered. For fist-sized viscous golden objects appeared in front of Lin Dong's group. Lin Dong was shocked when he saw the item that was formed. This was because the golden item actually had the form of a baby. Golden light scattered from it, giving it an incomparably mysterious appearance. The Earth Core spiritual brewing saliva has the appearance of a baby, representing the recasting of one's Yuan spirit. Even in the large-sized auction houses within the Eastern Xian region, such an object is a rare existence that one can only hope to meet. Ying Huanhuan's eyes were also staring at the 4 golden babies in a strange manner as she said. Little Martin withdrew his hand before that purple-black swirl disappeared. After which, those 4 golden baby clusters slowly floated over before they were suspended in front of Lin Dong. There are coincidentally 4 of them. 1 for each person. Lin Dong stared at the 4 golden baby-like clusters. He smiled slightly and waved his sleeve. The other 3 shot towards those 3 others present. Little Martin and Little Flame unceremoniously kept it in their bag. On the other hand, Ying Huanhuan hesitated for a moment as she looked at the golden baby in front of her before asking, "Do I also get one?" It seemed like she thought that this thing was too valuable and it didn't seem right to recklessly accept it. If it was not because you brought the heavenly phoenix thither along, we would not even be able to enter the Demon Sound Mountain, much less obtain the Earth Core spiritual brewing saliva. Just take it. Lin Dong smilingly said. Ying Huanhuan hesitated for a moment after hearing this. Immediately, her beautiful large eyes seemed to bend like a crescent. She nodded gently. Only then did she extend her hand and receive the golden baby-like cluster. The golden light was reflected on her pretty face, causing her to look exceptionally beautiful. Upon seeing this, Lin Dong also smiled before he patted his hands together. This trip was not in vain after all. A Yuan spirit and an Earth Core spiritual brewing saliva. Such a harvest was truly a bountiful one. Yuan Gate. As the strongest super sect within Eastern Xian region, the land taken up by Yuan Gate was in no way lacking when compared to Dao sect. There were dozens of empires that existed with the boundaries of Yuan Gate alone, and these empires all treated Yuan Gate as their supreme leader. Even the changing of leaders within these empires required the approval from Yuan Gate. In this area, Yuan Gate was undoubtedly the true overlord. As for the region where Yuan Gate was situated in, it was known as Yuan region. Within the region, the status of a Yuan Gate disciple was extremely exalted. If they were to walk into any of those empires, even the emperors would have to treat them with respect. Within the central-most location of the Yuan region was where Yuan Gate was. Within the depths of Yuan Gate, 3 mountains floated in the air. Countless rays of light shot down from the peaks of the mountains like glorious suns, illuminating the entire Yuan Gate. These 3 lofty mountains were the holy lands within the hearts of countless Yuan Gate disciples. They were the seclusion grounds for the 3 great sect masters of Yuan Gate. Within the depths of the rightmost mountain, a peakless stone pagoda proudly stood. On the surface of the stone pagoda, laid the vestiges of time, motley and full of the vicissitudes of life. Seated quietly atop this stone pagoda was an old figure dressed in a purplish gold robe. There was not a single trace of Yuan power fluctuation emitted from this man. However, if one was to carefully observe, one would discover that the Yuan power fluctuation of the surrounding area was seemingly accompanying the figure's breathing. This peaceful scene lasted for an unknown amount of time before a faint snapping sound suddenly rang out. In the next moment, the quietly seated figure moved a little before slowly opening his eyes. Bang! When his eyes opened, storm clouds and strong gales immediately filled the sky, causing all the tree leaves to violently dance and sway. That figure had a head full of silver hair, while the vicissitudes of life pervaded the depths of his eyes. Oddly enough, the face of the figure was as fair and soft as a baby. This was obviously a very strange pairing, however, it gave one a feeling of incomparable harmony. The figure slowly extended a palm from his sleeves which contained 3 pieces of broken jade. There were 3 distinct faces on the surface of these jade pieces, and they were precisely Elder Jiang and the other 2 that had been finished off by Lin Dong and the others. The silver-haired man looked quietly at the broken jade pieces within his palm. A glint of radiance flashed past the depths of his eyes, carrying along with it a power that pierced the heavens. There are actually people who dare to kill an elder of Yuan Gate. Which great one could it be? Looks like I'll have to take a look. The silver-haired man gave a faint smile before closing his eyes once again. In the next moment, a golden glow shot out from his forehead, immediately tearing apart the space in front of him. Transforming into a shadow, the golden glow drilled straight into the crack in space. 4 figures shot out from within Demon Sound Mountain. After which, they hovered in midair before they turned to look at this messy ground. Right now, that mountain completely reeked of blood. The Demon Sound Mountain has an extremely terrible reputation and they commit heinous deeds daily. Conveniently destroying it today can be considered as performing a good deed, said little Martin with a smile as he looked at the scene before him. Lin Dong smiled before retracting his gaze and saying, "Let's leave this area and find a safe place to refine the Earthcore spiritual brewing saliva." Yes, we have caused quite a commotion and there might be people rushing over here in a short while. Although destroying the Demon Sound Mountain is not a problem, the key lies in the 3 members from Yuan Gate. Once news of this matter reaches Yuan Gate, they will likely fly into a rage and come charging over, said Ying Huan. Lin Dong nodded his head. Those 3 people were no ordinary individuals. Therefore, if they were killed, there was no way Yuan Gate would let this matter go. Therefore, it was best for them to leave this area as soon as possible. With this thought in mind, Lin Dong ceased speaking. With a gentle wave of his hand, he transformed into a shade and shot outwards from the mountain range, while little Martin the other 2 immediately followed closely behind. After they left, the area turned completely silent once again, only leaving a thick smell that reeked of blood to drift in the air. This silence, however, did not last for long. Approximately half a day later, the space suddenly fluctuated before a crack appeared and a golden shade slowly walked out from within. His gaze swept across the area before resting on the place where Shen Yun's and Xie Yang's bodies were smashed into dust, causing him to narrow his eyes. Even their Yuan spirits were thoroughly shattered. These guys are truly thorough. The golden shade patted gently towards the Demon Sound Mountain with his palm, causing the entire mountain to immediately rumble and collapse. After a few short breaths, the entire mountain peak was directly patted and flattened by him. However, can you guys escape? After crushing the mountain peak, the golden shade tilted his head slightly while looking towards the direction which Lin Dong and the rest had headed to. Giving a faint smile, the space in front of him ruptured open before his figure drilled into it once again. 4 figures traveled across a piece of sky far away from the Demon Sound Mountain, carrying along low sonic booms as they shot past. Kai? One of them suddenly froze in mid-air. Upon seeing this, the other 3 could not help but be startled, before they hurriedly came to a halt and looked behind as well. What's the matter? Lin Dong asked, puzzled as he looked at little Martin who had suddenly stopped. At this moment, the expression on little Martin's face was abnormally grave and his smile had completely disappeared. His gaze closely scrutinized a position far away as if it could pierce through space. "We are being chased by someone," said little Martin in a low voice. Upon hearing these words, the expressions on Lin Dong and the rest's faces instantaneously changed. There is someone that is shuttling through space to chase after us. He is very capable and he must be a big shot. It might even be one of the 3 great sect masters in Yuan Gate. Little Martin laughed grimly while his gaze turned somewhat gloomy. Lin Dong's pupils contracted immediately upon hearing this, as his face turned serious. He never imagined that the 3 great sect master were actually so capable. They were able to track them even while they were still in Yuan Gate. One can only wonder how powerful these beings were. "What should we do?" asked Little Flame in a deep voice. "Although your Grandpa Martin can't defeat him now, he won't be able to obstruct us if we want to leave," said Little Martin with a sneer. His hands suddenly came together before a purplish-black glow swept up from within his body. In the next instant, it transformed into a revolving purplish-black light array. Around the light array, space seemed to show signs of fragmenting. "Let's go." After the light array appeared, Little Martin waved his sleeves and created a gale that brought Lindong and the rest into the light array. After they entered it, the light array started to rapidly revolve, causing space to shatter and fragment. With a swish, the light array and the four of them disappeared in a flash. After the four of them disappeared, this patch of space returned to its original quiet state till approximately half an hour later. A space fissure tore open at a place not far from here before a golden figure stepped out from within once again. Spatial teleportation, capable indeed. As the golden figure appeared, he looked in the direction which Lindong and the rest had disappeared. Frowning, he mumbled to himself, "I am getting more and more interested in you guys." After his words sounded out, that golden figure gave a forward pat with his palm, causing a mirror made of light to suddenly appear. It illuminated the area where Little Martin's light array had disappeared. Under the illumination, the space started to squirm before transforming into a black channel. The mirror of light shone onto the black channel, trying to track the direction in which Lindong and the rest had disappeared to. Bang! However, just as the mirror of light was searching, storm clouds suddenly aggregated in the surrounding skies. A bolt of lightning suddenly shot out from within the black clouds and swiftly smashed the mirror of light, causing it to directly explode. "Who?" This sudden turn of events caused the expression of the golden figure to change as he shouted out. However, there was no answer as the black clouds in the sky started to rapidly dissipate, turning into the previous scene as if it was only an illusion. The golden figure looked gloomily at the dissipating black clouds before looking at the black hole that had disappeared. The traces that were left behind had thoroughly disappeared and even he had lost the ability to track them. Humph! Having reached this stage, even he had no choice but to give up. Giving an angry snort, he gazed chillingly at the patch of sky before turning around and disappearing. As the golden shade disappeared, in a distant bamboo hut located deep within Dao sect, Ying Xuanzi indifferently opened his eyes, before a mocking smile appeared from the corners of his mouth. This video will end here.